MIl2Vet tribe, welcome to Return2Roots. We are glad to have J.J. Cummings with us. He has over 36 years of naval service. J.J., welcome to the show.
Gents, glad to be here, and thanks for this opportunity to see a couple former Nimitz sailors back to the good old days on cruise when, as XO of Nimitz, when I had no responsibility and had a lot of fun. It was great.
Oh yeah, that was like one of my best careers, and one of my best tours during my career was on the Nimitz. And Nuccio, he was a senior chief at the time. I was a first class, and you were the XO, and that was like the dream cruise. If you're gonna have a cruise in the Red Sea, stuck scraping the bottom of the barrel of the food pantry because you're stuck out there for a while, might as well be with the top notch crew.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I was just glad Admiral. I was just loving
of,
the fact Admiral White was able to get us through to ditch on up to the Med. Man, that was awesome.
Huge. Well, recall a lot of pasta salads because we ran out of the green. The greens were gone. This pasta salad this time is 6-7 days in a row, and then the getting out of the Red Sea into the Mediterranean was fantastic. So I guess that was Vice CNO at the time. Said, hey, get them a port call, get them out of the Red Sea. So appreciate that he did that, and Admiral White to support. That was a fun port call in Naples, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was. Now, first time I met him, he was actually captain over in CAG 5. He was a deputy over there, and we loved him then too. And then seeing him walk up the blue tile on the Nimitz the first time was just like, oh wow, dude, I can't believe this. Oh, this is going to be a dynamite cruise.
He is a fantastic person and a fantastic leader. And when I look back at my career, I'm sure you guys do as well. Someone who just a complete gentleman, calm, reasonable, and himself. Nobody else, he was just Magwai was his call sign. Mm-hmm. And I looked at some people like him to model myself. When I moved up in the ranks, I said, I don't need anybody else but me. Just like Admiral White was him when he was leading as a CSG. So there's something to be said about just being yourself when you lead and nobody else. And that was Magwai through and through. And I'm so glad that we got to experience his leadership in really challenging conditions.
Yeah.
What was cool is he went over to take on training command or something like that, wasn't it? Like right afterwards, he put on his second star and then went over there and he was like leading the fleet in training.
Second star, and went to NETC, Naval Education Training Command down in Pensacola, and he was the lead down there, and then retired out of that billet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was an amazing cruise. It was just awesome, awesome things that happened. So right off the bat, I want everybody, all of our listeners, to go onto LinkedIn and connect with J.J. Cummings. What is the best way for everybody to connect with you besides LinkedIn?
Yeah, of course, like the rest of society, reach me on LinkedIn. And I'm not a big social media individual, so all I have is LinkedIn, but in a website, jjcummingsleadership.com. And if you want to email me, it's just jj with no periods at jjcummingsleadership.com. So both those paths will get to me, and looking forward to chatting and having talks with people. Happy to do that.
When you first joined up, you were looking to fly. I mean, what was it that what inspired you? What did you know that you wanted to do when you first? What was your path? What was your mission?
So great question, and I knew this in my freshman year in college. I knew I didn't want to go into a cubicle farm of corporate America, which is kind of where I am now, by the way, which is kind of funny. But did want to go to a boring job, wanted a job that was challenging, dangerous, rewarding. And then naval aviation came into my radar, courtesy of two uncles of mine who flew for the Navy. One flew P3s, another flew A6s. So first look at that, I'm like, wow, that sounds pretty cool. And what do you mean we land jets on ships at sea? And then still more research. I'm like, I want to do that. So the initial push to join the military was to do something not boring, do something exciting, dangerous, rewarding that was not in a cubicle. And then that's what we talked previously. The desire to do that led to enlisting, where my recruiter said, hey, it's really hard to get in right now. It was 86, Top Gun had come out. Everyone wanted to go fly. So he said, 3 years from now when you apply, it's helpful if you have some kind of thing that makes you stand out. How about enlisting in the Navy Reserves, go to boot camp, be whatever, and then now your record will be stamped prior enlisted. And so sure enough, went to boot camp in 87, was a corpsman with the Marines all through college as a reservist. And then when I graduated, I applied for aviation officer candidate school. And of the 300 candidates in New England, only one person was accepted. It was me. I believe because I was prior enlisted. So that's the plan that I cooked up in '86 worked, and was very lucky and fortunate to get an opportunity to go and fly and do some really fun things in Tomcats, Super Hornets, then ultimately into nuclear power, driving big ships and working with folks like yourself.
Did you find in '86, because that's right around the time that one of the greatest recruiting movies of all time got released? Was that did that have anything to do with bringing you in?
Folks, my friends from college 100% gave me a hard time. Like, you joined just because of Top Gun. And I will tell you that that is not true. I was researching this path long before Top Gun 1 came out. Now, that said, I decided wanted to do this path. Then I saw the movie. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to continue to strive for this. And
I'm staying on this course.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I remember my freshman year of college walking through. I went to a place in Maine called Bates College. I walked through the library and I saw on the Proceedings, which you're familiar with, U.S. Naval Institute, a picture of a tomcat on a magazine, the cover of Proceedings. I stole that. I'm sorry, permanently borrowed that magazine as inspiration to want me to, challenge me to go fly tomcats. By the way, I still have that magazine up in my attic. But that's what was the drive, just to go fly tomcats. After seeing that movie, I'm like, oh yeah, right choice, and I'm going.
This is going to happen.
And, yep. And 8 years from the time I decided to do it was my first flight in a Tomcat, and to this day, I still can't believe that I pulled it off. I was lucky enough to make it happen, and my friends still can't believe it either. My friends from college and home as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's so many people that are out there that are like, oh, I want to go flying. And they could really learn from your path, because that's still a viable way to fly. There's so many prior enlisted that are naval aviators now that I met along my journey.
Sure. I mean, I think having folks who are prior enlisted in the officer corps is huge, because you need to have that perspective, because folks who just never really understand what it's like to work the mid-watch, work the 0200 on some, whatever. They need to understand that. I think you get a little more grounded, a little more context when you've been prior enlisted. Now, that said, I was just reserves, but still, being E3 in the reserves in a unit in Topsail, Maine, going through boot camp helped me to really see the other side, and also gave me credibility from the enlisted folks when they saw my resume that they saw boot camp in 1987. So, got to experience the old school boot camp back there at Great Lakes, not the hard one, not like it is now. It's much different experience, as you probably are aware. The ships are a lot different than it was in '87. Marching around and doing what we did back then. So, of course, it's always harder, last year when you went to boot camp.
Oh, yeah. Walking uphill both ways, barefoot, the whole back in my day.
In the snow in July and at Great Lakes. Yeah, standard.
The when you were flying, I mean, when you were driving those Tomcats around, it was just like, oh, this is the greatest ever. I mean, this is all I ever want to do. Or did you have bigger plans? Like, did you know that you wanted to be something bigger, or did you just want to fly until you went on to your Mo tour and your ops tour?
Yeah, there was first off, I don't think for a minute that I didn't appreciate the luck and privilege I had of flying a Tomcat. So it's, I was lucky, the right place, the right time, a little bit of hard work got me there. So I'm appreciative of that there was something, not like some God-given right to go fly Tomcats and maybe better than somebody else. That's not absolutely the case. Really appreciated every day I went to work. I'm like, holy crap, I get to do this great job. Thank you, Navy. Thank you for the opportunity to do so, and really respected that privilege that the Navy gave me. And then, came in flying. It was all about, I'll be quite honest, to be quite selfish, it was about me. I wanted to be challenged. I wanted the reward. I wanted the thrill of flying Tomcats and landing aboard ship at sea. And then it was, early days of Operation Enduring Freedom. My first flight over Afghanistan, October 2001. Coming back from a mission over Kandahar, we dropped a bunch of 1,000-pound laser guided weapons, got shot at, came back and landed, and we taxied to fighter row, look up and see the flag flying from the yardarm that was from the same flag that was at the site, World Trade Center. And that's right then and there. I got choked up because I realized that it wasn't all about me. It was about us, our nation, serving others before self. And that's when I really figured out my why. So yes, I came in, the drive was about me. And then it was October 11th, 2001, when I realized it was not just about me. And as far as the long view, I had no idea what I wanted to go nuclear power or go into driving ships, but that was something we always have our mentors. People reached out to me, folks who cared about me, talked about this challenge of nuclear power and said, hey, there's more to life than just flying. You can do these other things that are really hard. It's a difficult path, but it's a path that they thought I would do well at and enjoy, and they were right. So you talk about mentorship and folks caring about you. Folks reached out to me and said, this is something you should consider. And they were right. I can't think of a better path than that nuclear power path, and end up being a captain of an aircraft carrier. So it came in with no aspirations beyond just flying. Had a big reality check in October of 2001. And then mentors reached out to me in my XO ride in Ripper, when I was a Ripper XO, and said, hey, you should think about this other path, this nuclear power path. And they were right. They knew me, and they were right. I'm so glad I went that path.
When you wrapped up with the flying, you're sitting there, you figured it's 2001-ish. You went on to NATO after that. I'm granted, it's just like not too. It's when you were doing your ACT tour.
Yeah.
Was that a hey, I got a freaking deal for you, JJ. Yank, I'm gonna put you over here, or was that like, oh, let me go ahead and try something different, or you want to get in the logistics side, and then what?
I wish I could tell you all those things you just said, because it sounds really like I really was a smart and intelligent and wide-ranging officer. The fact was, I just didn't want to move. So whatever job is here,
across the river.
I don't want to move from Virginia Beach, and like, what jobs are in Norfolk?
He's muted. You're muted. Uh-oh. Did
So, Nooch, you sound like a detailer when you said that. Well, here's a great way to expand your horizons, Lieutenant Commander Cummings. Go to work with an alliance, to go do these things that'll. So, but the reality was, all those things sounded great and probably looked good in my resume. But the reality was, I did not want to move from Virginia Beach. And I said, whatever job is in the area, I will take. And that job was NATO. And learned a lot about the alliance and how NATO works. And it was 1 year that I'll never forget. And I'm glad that I don't have to go back to NATO, because it was a different mindset there than what I was used to, than that we are used to being from the United States Navy.
No, the one of my best friends actually, and Chris knows her well too, Amy. So she was a SK up over there, not in the ACT time. Her name was Kennedy back at the time, but I was like, hey man, dude, you're not going to believe this, man. The guy we're interviewing today, dude, he was at ACT about the same time. She's like, Nooch, dude, like you got to be a minimum 04 to get to that command. Like captains are taking out their own trash. And I was like, oh, you must have loved the ringer board, So she's like, the ringer board? No way. I took the dog watch, man. I'm not sitting out there ringing all these guys on. What was it like walking around with all that brass?
It was different because each uniform is different in all the military. So you would link someone who was a 3-star admiral in the Bulgarian Navy, and they're actually an E7. So you could never figure out who were the admirals and who weren't the admirals. So you just walk around saluting everybody, and you just calling everybody sir. And it was very funny because every uniform is different from every nation. But I will tell you that NATO is really all about the process and not the product. So they really like to discuss and collaborate. So I learned that. And I also learned that they also served beer at lunch, and folks didn't have a problem putting down 3 beers at lunch, which kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't used to that.
Sure, all the guys over there, all those European service members were eating that right up.
Oh
my goodness.
I mean, you go walk in there, and it's like, no, I cannot have 3 glasses of wine at lunch because I'll be done. So, but that was fairly standard. But that's just the European way, and that's why all their ships have, well, as we know, they have they serve beer on board. The French carriers, the British carriers have the bar on board. So, but NATO, same thing, bar on site at ACT, which I think is no longer there, by the way. They actually shut it down about 10 years ago. So maybe after I left, because I was there.
So was getting back in the cockpit in 07, was that a welcome thing, or is that just
that was
itch to grab the stick again?
Yeah, screen for command of a strike fighter squadron, and then back in the jet to go to VFA 11, the world famous Red Rippers, and then back to Leiden. So I look back at my time at NATO. It was great that I was home every night. It's great that I got to stay local. But what I missed most was not so much the flying, but the people. Working with people like yourself, sailors, chiefs, senior chiefs, junior officers. I missed that the most. And to get back to a squadron and start doing that, that made it all worthwhile. That's what I miss most
Oh,
with the people.
absolutely.
And then getting back to the squadron was great, and had the impact and influence and make stuff happen at the O5 level as XO, then CO was fantastic. So I was happy to leave NATO to get back to the jet and back to squadron life.
It's weird with operations, man. Sometimes you just get that. You talk to anybody that worked a flight deck, and there's a meme going around. It's just like, man, once you've sat here and you've been, it's like, you got that. You're up with the shirts, so you're up dealing with everything. The shooter's doing it. It's like everything
Yep.
else just seems boring after this. It's there's
Yeah,
a lot of truth to that, man.
you walk the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, and I could do that a bunch on Ford. I would even as XO and Nimitz. You probably saw me out there. I love walking around, going to the platform, waving with the LSOs. I would stroke jets to the catapult with the yellow shirts. I would go up, I would shoot, push the button. I mean, I did all those things, and you're walking around the most dangerous place on the planet and just loving it. Just that smell and that jet exhaust, spinning props, jet intakes,
Oh
exhaust.
yeah.
It's just a great feeling to be up there, and this the way that we all make it happen, and we make it look easy, and it's not, because we're well trained, because of folks like yourselves up there, senior enlisted junior officers making it happen and teaching folks how to do it right and making it look easy when it's
How
actually
was that?
really difficult and hard.
Well, all that practice makes them
How
most
was that
proficient.
shift in
It's
Yep,
just
gears going
absolutely.
amazing.
from squadron life to being a XO, then a big XO, and then being the skipper of a ship? What was that like?
Initially, a little bit alarming, but then as I took a step back and tried to figure out, well, I can't run an aircraft carrier as an XO like I ran the squadron, because that's
Hmm.
3,000 people vice 200. So I determined just to do it like I did in squadron life. So in one respect, it was easy. I just turned to the HODs and said, "Look, you guys run your departments as if that's your squadron. Treat me like a CAG, an air wing commander. Run your squadrons. Just make it happen. Give me a shout if you need help or a tiebreaker." So it became much easier when I recognized I couldn't know everything, nor what I want to. I wanted folks to do their job, do it well, and if any issues, come find me, or if I'm not happy with something, I'll come let you know. But it became pretty easy when I took that step back and didn't worry about everything. Because you can't, because you'll go on crazy. You'll work 20-hour days and have no life, and I did not desire to do that. So the jump was initially surprising and shocking, but with just a little bit of a deep breath and just treating it like squadron life. Hey, HODs, or heads of department slash department heads,
Hmm.
what we call them on the squadron, just do your job and let me know what I can do to help you out, and I'll give you some guidance and move out. So it became pretty easy, and same as a carrier CO captain, same thing. I didn't try to micromanage my best. I couldn't know everything. Just run your squadron, run your department, give me a shout if you need some help. But you know the mission, what we need to do, go for it. I don't come ask for permission, just get it done, and I'll support you as best I can.
Mm. That's one of the things we loved about Commander Bennett at the time, Dan. He was so
Yeah.
non he was extremely no nonsense, but the only time he intervened is just when if dude, let there be negligence. Oh man, that was it. But mistakes is come here. Let's talk for a sec, dude. But he absolutely let the Chiefs and the couple of the department, the division officers run it, and it was I
Yeah.
loved that department.
Yeah.
I loved that department. It was and we worked exceptionally well with supply too. It was a great relationship.
Yes, Frank's a great person, and yeah, he's a hardcore individual. And a couple times he would tell me stuff. I'm like, whoa, just brutally honest. He was definitely there was raw,
Yeah.
unwashed, raw feedback. I'm like, okay, Frank, yep, got it. Why are we doing this? This is dumb. Like, yep, nope, you're right. So he was very no nonsense, and I appreciated about him, and that's why he's who he is, and that's why he's so successful and still
Yes.
serving. Great individual,
Absolutely.
and lucky to work with guys like that. Watch him operate, and the way he just, to your point, no nonsense, got it done, and just held nothing back, and was no fluff whatsoever. It was just raw feedback, and you took it and ran with it,
Yeah.
or you
Yeah.
had issues.
It was
Oh yeah.
it was awesome, like working with him, because he would, even though he was no nonsense, he would still like show face, talk with the people. He would still, yeah,
Oh,
he was
Yep.
still a
absolutely.
people's person. Like, and that whole entire no nonsense, but then also on the backside, the dude would actually come down and talk with you, and not talk over you, but talk with you, which was great.
Huge. Yep. I, so that's part of the public speaking that I've been doing. I share some of those thoughts with corporate America, and one of the themes is LBWA. lead by walking around, not elbow,
Mm.
lead by being on Outlook.
No.
So get out of your office, get away from your computer, and go have a conversation with somebody where you're listening more than you're talking. So don't go and walk around, just squawk the whole time. Shut your pie hole and listen to your people and let them know you care about them by being there, just showing up and being there. So I know he's a big fan of that. And those officers who did not do that, I had issue with. And I talked to them like, look, go walk around. Don't make folks come to your office. Go to their office. Go where they're comfortable. And that's a much better way to attack it and to build culture than waiting around in your office for people to come tell you how great things are going. Screw that. Go out and find the problems before they find you, is what I share with in some of my
Yeah,
keynote
and you'll see
events,
a lot
keynote
of his
speaking
junior
events.
officers that were under him are now running. They're either captains or they're
Yep.
yeah,
Oh,
like,
dude, they're freaking
and I don't want
handling
to name
business,
names
dude.
because of where they're at nowadays, but they're very successful, and then that bled over into the enlisted side. The enlisted side is
Yeah.
very successful. It's just amazing what you just
Yep.
said, like that whole entire fostering, that whole entire walking around the deck plates, walking around the deck plates. Come on, Chiefs, you guys know this. Get out there and
Yeah.
be out there.
Yep.
And so I want to hear some more stories about what the cooler things that you got to do at the latter part of your career, and but I also want to respect the whole entire transition part. So when you were transitioning
Sure.
out, and kind of let's embed some of your stories about what you got to do right before uh, you left. But when you were transitioning out, what was that like after
Mm-hmm.
like working the jobs that you did right before you got out? What was that like? Like, because what people aren't hearing is, yeah, he was an XO, yeah, he did some NATO time, but you were also the CO of the fort, correct?
Yes. Yep. Mighty Warship, Gerald F. Ford.
Yeah.
Yep. 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going from that job, which is the best job on the planet, there's no job like it anywhere in the world. Civilian life, military life, being even 3 and 4 star, whatever. Being a captain of an aircraft carrier, especially that ship, doesn't get any better than that with regard to mission, people, focus, and just overall epicness. So leaving that to go to be chief of staff at U.S. Second Fleet, that's the cubicle job, which I was trying to avoid
Mm-hmm.
all those years. It was fun running a staff, but it was challenging because it was not a ship. I treated it like a ship, and it didn't really work out that way. So it was challenging to go, 10 years of being on ships and then go to be an office guy, to be a staff officer, and I'm a terrible staff officer. And it turns out I'm chief of the staff officer, so it's kind of funny. But did my best and treat it like a ship and try to have the same kind of mentality. Lead by walking around, communicating on the 1MC as best I could, like through emails and just going and talking to people. But then as the transition occurred, when I got word that surprising, well, didn't get promoted, that kind of caught me off guard. It was because of a change to the admin precepts for promotion boards that my record was eligible for promotion to flag, but they changed the rules. So my record was pulled from consideration, even though I was still eligible. And that was a new
Mm.
change to the rules that no one saw coming. So I was kind of like, oh, so I now have to look at retiring here in 7 months. Okay. So that was something that caught me off guard.
It
Thanks
was
for the
probably sit in
memo.
the
Well, yeah,
memo.
exactly. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Ah.
The good news is though, this I was angry, not angry, but frustrated for about a month. But now I look at that. This became a gift, and I'm turning this gift into an opportunity, and this opportunity is to do what I'm
That's what
doing
I'm
now.
talking about.
So it was a gift that they forced me out because I never would have gotten out of my own accord. They needed to force me out, and they did, and it was great. And I have no regrets now, and loving it. So to answer your question about transition, so kind of a last minute, holy crap, I need to get my stuff square. So that was definitely a mindset shift to get ready for that retired mindset. And how to get ready for that? It was just, of course, reached out to people and say, hey, what do I need to do? Give me some guidance, job search, programs, tap. There's a organization called Blue Water Advisors that a good friend of mine, Mike Wallace, runs. It helps transitioning veterans get out of the Navy. Now, it's not for everyone. It's definitely focused on naval aviator at the 04 and above. So if folks are interested in that, go to the website, Blue Water Advisors, see if that's something that you're interested in. But that class, one dayer, helped me prepare and gave me the feeling that it's going to be okay. And then as I started to become clear that I was going to be okay, I didn't need to find a job tomorrow and not to worry about it.
Mm.
That's when I took the deep breath and just let it all flow. And from there, it was fairly easy because I think I'm inherently lazy. And now that I didn't have to work, a gazillion hours a day for 10 years straight, I can now take a break. I'm like, wow, this is great. I could be home, go to the gym at 06 now, not 05. I can go to my kids' ball games. So that
Mm.
transition came very quickly and easily for me because I was happy to not
So
work my tail off
so during that
and take a little bit
process,
of break. And we've all been there
while
in
you're
active
like
duty.
realizing like all this freedom that you're gonna have, at first I know my first initial thought was like, yes, awesome. But when you were starting that, what was it? What did it? Was it kind of frustrating because you're like work, 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 but no, JJ, I need to take a step back. Just like I was like Chris, I need to take a step back. I don't need to do that.
Yeah, yes, I mean for working, yes. Well, we talked yesterday, Chris, about getting that out of your system where we we show up 15 minutes ahead of schedule. We do things perfectly because of who we are, and we attack stuff. I'm learning to. I don't have to be 15 minutes early. Like I'm actually trying to be late every once in a while. Just trying it out, see what it feels like. Just so learning to kind of wash out of your system of just being held to high expectations. And certainly as a commanding officership or, as leadership in a department, you're always in the fishbowl. People are looking at you. So you have to be super careful on how you present and not give someone the ability to go, look, you're a hypocrite because of X. So imagine that for 10 years of being in the fishbowl of people looking at me, waiting for me to do something that was counter to what I put out on the 1MC or something that's counter to being a professional naval officer, to finally take a step back and be like, no one's looking at me anymore. It's great, so I don't have to, be really careful to make sure I'm not mismatching perception with what was coming out, from my vision verbally. So that was kind of nice too. So the transition definitely was challenging in certain respects. Others, it was great because now no longer in the spotlight. Now I take a step back and just take a deep breath and enjoy living in the moment and not worrying about other forces that are
Yeah, I love
impacting
that.
you.
And life is messy, right? And transition is just as
Yeah,
messy as you could ever think of, and that's so important to hear what you just said.
yeah. Well, I'll ask you this in a second too. I know we talked yesterday about what I tell folks who are on active duty now, even as juniors lieutenants. I tell them, hey, find something that you want to do that you can't do while you're on active duty, some hobby that you're thinking about. And for me, for years, even when I was XO Nimitz, I wanted to be a high school teacher and coach high school football. So when I thought about that on active duty, I got my master's in education when I was at NATO to prepare for that, so that I had something to look forward to. So that I would tell folks when they checked in with me, "Hey, look, this is my life, but it's not my life. I have things that I want to do when I get out of the Navy, and here they are." So that when you get out and you're feeling the emptiness of not being with a team on a division, department, on a ship, I now fill that void with this thing I've been wanting to do for 10 years. Now I can go do it. Now I didn't go teaching, obviously, because I be quite honest, I didn't do the research on the pay. I have to
Mm.
get our youngest through college, so not really smart there. But I had this public speaking something I was thinking about. So instantly I'm like, wow, I can now go and do this. And what's that like? Set up an LLC, start talking to people, start getting your brief together. It was fun to now like, I'm retiring. Okay, that's something I wasn't expecting, but this whole public speaking thing, it sounds like it could be a really good time and I can get a chance to make a difference. So that's what helped me fill that void of not being on active duty. And that transition was knowing that I could do something now something I could not do in active duty that I could do now that I was retired. That made retiring fun because I could do it at that time.
Man, you went from a thing that you called a job that you had a lot of fun at, and if you're having fun at it, it's barely called work. So you
Yep.
barely called it work for 30 years, and now you're doing something you're continuing to love. Make me wonder if you ever worked a day in your life,
I think
because
no.
it's great, man.
Yeah, no. I think you're that cause job was work. That was hard.
Yeah,
That was a
that's the
hard
one.
job. Herding cats at Second Fleet.
Uh,
That's a challenge. But yeah, to your point, the rest of the time I was flying on fun staffs. Yeah, I don't know that I loved every. That's what I tell folks also in their current job to do it that Sunday night test. Like on Sunday night, are you dreading Monday or are you excited for Monday? I know for me, every Monday or every Sunday night, I'm like, all right, tomorrow's the day. I'm going to ship. I'm going flying. Let's go. When's this weekend going to end? I want to go and have some fun. So I'm with you that I would say for those 32 years of active duty, most of the time that was not a job. It was a thing that I loved.
So, of all the time that you did do in there, one thing I think that's pretty cool that you'd have on your little plaque of history of assignments. One's going to be tech advisor to Paramount Pictures. What was it
Yeah,
like working with Joe Kaczynski, man?
fantastic. Yeah, so first technical advisor for Top Gun Maverick and working with Joe Kosinski, the director, and Eric Singer, the writer, just watching them operate and see how they led, it reminded me a lot of what we did on active duty. And that's what kind of what helped me to recognize that, a lot of stuff that we did on active duty is translatable in the civilian world. I mean, it works in Hollywood, works in the Navy, it can work for your business. And some of the things that they did were just the way that Joe was, you talk about being yourself, owning your own, your leadership style. Joe was nobody except Joe Kosinski and not some famous Hollywood director. You would never get that sense from him. Eric Singer, the writer, famous writer, nominated for an Academy Award for American Hustle. Same, just a good person that didn't change anything he did when they dealt with us. So that was always very fun. Yeah, so working with Joe, he was very inquisitive, great questioning attitude, and and just really wanted to make the movie right. I appreciated his honesty that we were working together and his ability to make the movie what it was.
Oh, there was a one to God. What was it? About a year and change ago, an article had come out, and I don't know. I'd sent you something on LinkedIn, just
I
talking
saw that.
about, hey
Yeah.
man, I can't believe. Yeah, so I was just like, well, one of the things I remember from that article was it was somebody saying one thing to another. It's like, man, if we do it your way, it's going to be boring. We've got to do like, who is that to who, and what was the nature of that?
So that was early on. Joe and Eric are proposing these things about the movie, and I'm like, no, would never happen. Nope, that wouldn't happen. So I was pushing back because I was trying to make it super realistic. And then at one
Okay.
point, so Joe finally goes, "Hey, Yank, I really appreciate your passion for the movie, but we can't make this the most accurate yet boring fighter pilot movie in the history of film. So can you work with us? And we need drama because drama sells tickets. So I appreciate that feedback that Joe gave, and from there, I'm like, oh, I get it. And he goes, by the way, this is our movie. It's not yours. And we're spending $300 million on it. So work with us. So I said, Joe, I
Gotcha.
appreciate that honesty, like, raw feedback. And from there forward, it became, when I looked through the lens of drama and what the public need to see to help me to help them had some really weird, bizarre ideas and turn them into something that was going to be palatable to the Navy and also meet that drama of Wicked. Because there were some real crazy ideas. I'm like, oh God, no. And then we find out a way to make it happen to kind of find, the compromise between reality and drama to make it somewhat that was going to be not embarrassing or like Iron Eagle 8 was the goal. Avoid being like that
Iron
movie.
Eagle 8.
So,
Yeah.
what about Tom Cruise riding the elevator down?
Yeah, so it was not. I left long before they went to film. I helped get the movie across the line at the Navy, and then Sarge Slaughter came in after me, Chaser Keithley, and then ultimately Ferg Ferguson was the one that took it home. So three of my friends was kind of cool that helped do that. So I missed a lot. I didn't help the filming, but there was definitely some stuff. But you can see how the American people, they don't want reality; they want drama and just cool shots. So that all those things that
Yeah,
you see now I
I
watch
mean,
movies and go, okay, they're just trying to get the drama ticket there. Because drama sells tickets.
yeah.
Documentaries
Mm.
don't. So I get it.
No, it was. Uh, I know my opinion of the movie is it's a great recruiting tool. It sells a
Yeah.
lot of the cool stuff that we get to see, and I mean, it was cool that we actually saw some of the yellow shirts, blue shirts. We saw all the different color shirts in the movie this time, so that was refreshing to
Yeah.
see, and it was
Although it,
well done.
although it is funny though, although it represents naval aviation, it doesn't really. 'Cause it's basically so these group of aviators go do some great flying, go on deployment for a day, do the mission, and fly home. It's like, they miss out
Yeah,
on the
right.
9 months of at sea, eating,
Oh, the fun
pasta
stuff.
salad in the Red Sea because we can't get resupplied
Yeah.
for 2 weeks. So it is funny how we did a good job selling naval aviation and Navy, but didn't really give the most accurate depiction of what it's like to be on deployment, but that's okay. But it turns out, I guess the recruiting spike didn't occur like
Okay,
the
cool. I
Navy
was going to ask
expected
you
it
about
to.
that.
I haven't seen the stats, but I know it was not like '86 where folks are flocking to the recruiters. It's not quite the uptick that they expected, and I wonder why that is. And I have young kids. I don't know if it's something that, even though the flying scenes are spectacular, I don't know if for some reason the numbers were not what they expected for recruiting. I can't go quote me on that, but I just knew I've heard
Yeah.
talked to some folks in active duty said, yeah, it's still challenged to meet the session numbers, which surprised me because how can you see that movie and not want to go? I want all of that, but we're obviously
Oh yeah,
biased.
dude.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, I
obviously
remember
biased.
reading. Oh yeah, totally. Well, one thing you talked about also in a similar article, it wasn't that one, but it was later on read another article that you'd done, and you had talked about that this is a movie about risk. It's taken about risk management, and I thought about that for a sec, and you take so much in society now, and we want to use words like risk and gamble interchangeably, like somehow they're
Yeah,
colloquially interchangeable, and they're not, so like, how is it that you were able to get the necessary risk bit versus the perceived gamble, and
yeah.
to really really drive it home on what this was all about?
So Eric Singer, the writer, was fascinated by how naval aviation manages risk. And the way he wrote the movie, and pretty much 80% of what we worked on is what ended up in the final cut and ended up on the screen. But he was fascinated, as was Joe, about risk management. And I mean, each aspect of that film had a level of risk that needs to be managed, from flying super low and super fast, from letting Maverick lead the flight, the mission into bad guy country, into the scene where Maverick gets shot down and they want to launch the fighters to go get him. And they say, no, we're going to lose more people. So we're not going to send them to their death. No, we're not launching a rescue mission because that would be sending them to their assured death. So that risk management through and through was something that if you look at the movie now through a different lens of risk, you see that it's everywhere. And it's kind of cool when you think about it, because that's what naval aviation is. It's just a on the meter of risk. And you talk about gamble. Obviously, gamble is something you can't recover from. A risk you can. So you can take risk, and that's on a sliding scale of that. How you want to manage that versus risk is what probability of occurring and consequence is that equation, and how we work that equation back and forth every day from the flight line to letting jets go flying based on your decision on the flight line as a maintainer, to the air crew in the aircraft flying with maybe degraded systems or bad weather or a lot of uncertainty. So we do it every day. We're managing risk, and it's like for us breathing for us. But I think other non-military folks don't really understand as well as we do. But we just do it so naturally because it's ingrained in our head. And it's basically part of our DNA.
Do you bring a lot of these tools and what it was we got like from out, you take everything from assessing it. One of the things that the Chiefs loved about you is that you weren't like, so just, oh, just hammer them all. You were all about like, here, we got a situation where we can learn from.
Yeah,
It's like, here's a mistake. What do? We take it. So one of the things that I used to really admire in aviation is with the air crew is CRM. And I
yep,
wonder why we just didn't do more of that on the maintenance side or anything else. But how
yeah,
would you say that crew resource management,
yeah.
how would you say that that's super beneficial to management and mitigating of unnecessary risk? And then taking that and bringing it into when you're doing your talks and you're speaking to the same. Like, how do you tie it all together?
Yeah, well, the part about the crew resource is the crew. It's not one person. So working collaboratively to work to an end state. So I think a lot of folks think, leaders in particular, believe that I have to be the one who makes the decision. I'm all knowing. I'm the smartest person in the room. Therefore, will do what I say. And I've never been a big I, me, my individual. I'm more of a we are us, the crew aspect of that. And by getting as much, well, first off, any mission that would invoke CRM has to be very clear on what the mission is. So when folks want to start managing risk, they know what's the desired end state. And from that, they can massage and maneuver to get to that desired end state and take chances or take risks as necessary to meet that mission. So with that clear mission, you can now take that when things change, what you know we need to get to, the path because you've talked about it, trained to it, and you've been trusted to do it, and your leadership's going to back you up. That's the key. If your leadership's going to back you up and do something. And if you make a mistake, but you did it for the right reason, that's okay. That happens. I would tell folks that when I checked in with them, officers and chiefs, make a mistake. At least try. Make it if you're doing it because
Fall
you're doing it for the
forward.
right reason. That's great. Now learn from that. I'll respect you for at least trying. But if you make the same mistake twice, that's now a bad decision. That's another discussion. But
Yeah.
make mistakes. At least you're trying. I'd rather have you do that than be that that chief that you've seen hides in the mess for 3 years. They're just moving fast up the scene. Well, they're there, but they're not doing anything, not trying something new. They just want to retire on active duty. You've
Outlook
seen them. Yep. And they're just there.
on the
Like,
road.
yeah, what are you doing in the mess? You're doing nothing. There's no risk takers there. There's no mistakes being made by that guy or gal. That's the folks that you don't respect and should be out of your system. So make a mistake, leadership support them, back them up. And then if they do it for the right reason, of course, not talking illegal, unethical, immoral, obviously. But
Yeah, we
certainly if you're
don't
trying
want
your
to listen.
best, going all out, and you make a mistake, great. Good trying. Learn from that and move on. Just don't do it again. Learn from that
Yeah.
and don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah, I've always I've learned a lot from the leadership that was around me, and you guys represent some of the people that I was learning from, and that's the thing. Like, if you're not out there doing something, then
Yeah.
you're not going to make a mistake. Like you just said, there's
Nope.
people that are out there. Oh yeah, well, hey, you shouldn't create a podcast because there's so many
Yeah.
other podcasts out there. Hey, guess what,
All
guys?
these naysayers.
Number 2 veteran podcast for 2024.
Let's go, baby.
That's
Come
I'm
right.
on.
just saying.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, like, just these little things, you can do amazing things, but you need to go out there and actually freaking do them.
Get
Like,
Yeah,
some.
go out
I
there,
love
do
naysayers,
them.
man.
Yep.
And one of
Yep.
the biggest things that you taught me that I mean, it's a valuable lesson, and a lot of chiefs and a lot of leaders already know this. And literally led by example, and you had these goal cards. You remember that in the red
Oh,
you
yeah.
say you
Yeah.
said
Oh
it.
Red Sea.
yeah,
You
dude.
said that you did it because we were in the Red Sea and you're trying to
Got
distract us.
extended. Yeah.
Okay, but honestly, it was gold because how many people actually had those gold cards on them? And I think they made
Yeah.
it a Liberty item because they wanted us to have them. So they wanted us to have our Liberty,
Oh
but they
wow.
also wanted
Yeah.
us to make sure that we're carrying our gold cards. But that is a powerful tool because when you write it down, when you write something down,
You're looking at it.
you're looking at it. Then you have something. You have
Yeah.
something to navigate towards. You have a roadmap. You have a nav
Yeah.
chart or whatnot. And if I'm not mistaken, it was what shipmate, self.
Self. Shipmate self. Yep.
Shit myself.
Shipmate self, and you could use that in your own roadmap where you could be like, okay, what am I doing for my family? What am I doing for the household? What am I doing for myself? You could convert that
Yeah.
to your own little circle anyway. And it was 3 long term, 3 midterm, three shorts or something like
Short,
that.
medium, long term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
and
Mhm.
Short. Yeah.
they should all feed each other, and that was gold. Like, I love that. I really ate that up. I use that in my leadership style. You talk to any of my sailors that ever had me, and I was in one of their CRBs, we had a roadmap discussion, and they could tell you I would go on probably about a good 10-15 minutes, and not just go on, I'd make them write them down, so that way
Yeah.
they knew how their roadmap was going to look.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me, much like Nooch reminded of this gold card. I forgot about that too. That was
I
10
know,
plus years
right?
ago. And that's from Turn the Ship Around, is where I got that from. And
Oh, that's a
actually,
great book.
yeah, I'm a huge
Oh my
disciple of
gosh.
David Marquette, and but it's just kind of cool to your point, Nooch. But you know what? I read about it. Let's give it a shot. Screw it, and we did it on Nimitz, and it was really fun because hey, short term, long. And but I remember I would say the one to say like, look, I'm gonna walk the mess decks and ask to see your goal card. If you don't have it, we're gonna have issues. So have your goal card and take me through your goals and let me know how they're going. And that was fun to watch the mess decks and like, all right, let me see your goal card. They pull it out, we go through it and have fun about that. I think a lot of chiefs were doing that as well to kind of get folks to get their mind off the endless extension in the Red Sea where we're eating pasta
Oh
salad for 8
god.
days straight. So we're
What was that?
trying to
10 weeks
make
of freaking. Oh.
it fun. So, but it's funny that you say that, and also, having the Chiefs mess support me in that effort was also a big deal, and getting them on board
You may not remember this, but I went down there once a month on cruise. The first cruise, you weren't chief just yet, Chris, but I know my predecessor in the chief's nest had a little. They kind of bumped heads, and I went down there every month just to tell them, "Hey, I'm here. Here's what's pissing me off about you, chiefs. Give me some feedback, and I'll address it." And we went at each other for the first 3 or 4 visits, and after that, it became a more a better relationship. So we worked really hard to build a relationship with the Chiefs mess, and so glad that we turned the corner, did some great things on cruise, and made it a pretty fun deployment with some under some really challenging situations.
Well, one of the things too is you had one incredible catalyst for exactly what you're trying to do, and his name was Greg Rennick, and
Yeah, it was good.
he was absolutely on board with, hey, we're going to make this ship right. This is going to be what's up. And I'll tell you what,
He's awesome.
he's he watching him through Chiefs initiation
Oh,
was
yeah.
oh my God, dude, that was absolutely a blast. I mean, our not so fun things with DRBs, we hated that.
Yeah,
You hate
sure.
doing DRBs because this is our last ditch effort. We hated it's. Can they please make a turnaround? And a lot of stuff was able to get stopped there through through Greg's leadership and we have with
Yep.
all the departmental nines. Um, but I'll tell you, you got your gold cards and stuff like that. But you also had a really unique ability to throw a monkey wrench in the plan for the benefit of
Oh,
trainings.
okay.
And one thing I'll bring up one time. So we're in the middle of a drill, and we got
Well,
DSET.
I
We
know
do
this
the
is
brief,
going.
blah
Yeah.
blah blah. We're sitting there and we're up there, and I'm back there in repair 1A, sitting there watching. And I had the luxury of being section leader that day. It was just awesome, great. Let's burn the hangar down. That's great. And of course, here comes XO. Oh, hey, cool. Hey, man, the supply mountain's on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that. And I'm sitting here, and like one of the guys is like, "Well, that wasn't part of the DSET brief. As you better send an investigator over there. They freaking saw a damn just." So with that, like, how often did you like to do that? Just like, here's the plan. Let's throw a monkey wrench in there just to see the react. And what was your big benefit to drill to the plans? And what'd you get out of doing that
Well, you know how
for the benefit?
those general quarters went. They would make the package, and everybody
Oh,
knew where to go patch, where the flooding would occur. It was from the same one from like 4 GQs ago, and that kind of fired me up. And I tried when I got there to like
Yeah.
I wanted just to go into the
burn
hangar
down
bay,
the hangar.
just set it with the fog machine, just make folks be like, oh, someone will get injured. I'm like, and I always knew and didn't want to get somebody hurt. So I balked a bit at that, but I could do stuff that was fun, and that was one of them where it was supposed to be a condition two GDC, right? Where like a fire in one area controlled by a couple of lockers don't set general
Yeah,
quarters, and I'm
something.
like
Yeah,
condition two, and I go to the DCA. I went down like, hey, okay, that firefighter's dead. All right, next firefighter's dead.
yeah, that's what I'm
Okay,
talking about.
firefighter's dead. Okay, I'm like, what are you gonna do? DC, no, there's a fire burning out of control in Hangar Bay 3, and you're doing nothing. What are you gonna do? He goes, call GQ. I'm like, but it's not on the green
Oh,
sheet.
is
I
that a
don't
question to
care.
it?
So he calls GQ, and all the folks are like, what? It's not on the green
Dude.
sheet. So it was great.
Well, what was insane about that is like the reaction because it wasn't talked about was like people were literally freaking out. And it's just like, guys, this is what we train for, and it was like
Yep,
absolutely perfect, and
yep,
in kind of a cliche fashion. I mean, there was what was it, Gene Hackman's character in Crimson Tide. He did something like that.
yeah.
Just go ahead and well, I don't that's not part of the plan. You better make a plan and
That's
work
right.
this. Better
Well, do you
plan to put
remember
that fire out.
I did one where like GQ started, and then about 7 minutes in, I got in the one MC. Okay, everyone above the rank of E7 is dead. You're now ghosts.
Nice.
E6s take
Okay.
over. And people are like, ah! So I want to see how it went. So I just said, killed off every E7 and above on the ship
Khakis
to
are
let them
keyed.
now be as this floating ghost to watch if the first classes could make it happen. And of course, the first classes made it happen. But it was just trying to throw something funny, fun, and different to make people think. Because that's what will happen in a real fire. You have to be able to think on your feet and react to a plan and make it happen. Otherwise, the ship's going to go down.
I mean, you learned it from the forecastle. Um, when the majority of the fire party that was just was eliminated in the first wave.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
facts. The most trained are going to get an actual
Yeah.
massive casualty. It's going to. You hope that it doesn't happen. You train to try not to have that. You try to mitigate it, but you can't
Yep.
mitigate an actual casualty. It is just so that right there, training where all the leadership's gone. Hey, junior guys better figure it out.
That was fun. Yeah. I love doing that. I want to do more aggressive stuff, but they kept talking me out of it because, oh, it's serious. Someone will trip and fall. I'm like, yeah, I look back maybe with some regret that I didn't do that, but obviously worked out for us. But I think we could have been more aggressive on our damage control training. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
If you don't get that right, the ship will go down if you don't get that right and throw curveballs and make folks feel that pain, that stress, the fear, and then that just the heat and exhaustion of fighting a fire in the Persian Gulf at 2 in the morning when it's 120 degrees. I mean, yeah, that's a challenging scenario. And I was trying to get to that. I never really did, but I was happy we did some curveballs to make folks have to think on their feet.
Yeah, that was one of my most memorable events was being part of the DSAT team, the damage control training team. It was amazing just to be able to be a part of that and with
Yep.
leadership that was about dynamic exercises and actually going in there and fighting like it's a real thing. And that was awesome. Thank you for like bringing that to us, even whenever others were
Yeah.
saying, "Oh no, it's going to be too hard." That's what we need. We need to be
Negative.
challenged. You need to be
I
challenged.
Challenge.
want to make DSET earn that red cap. Folks who did that for their eval. I'm like, oh, no. You're gonna wear that red
Nope.
cap. You better earn it. You better know your stuff, or you're gonna lose the
Day
red
to
cap.
day.
So you saw that guy. I'll get the DSET hat for my eval. I'm gonna make chief now. No,
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
earn it. So yeah,
If there's one thing I could say about my tour on the Nimitz, my biggest takeaway that I would say coming out of aviation, because aviation and surface are just they're inherently different, the way they operate. But I would say my biggest thing, my biggest gift coming that is I learned how to be a division chief again. And it sounds kind of crazy, but there's well, you were doing that in squat. Well, it's different,
bigger.
and where, yeah, it is. And where my biggest investment that I put in was in the first classes. And that was where I had no idea that the tour would wrap up the way that it did, especially when those bastards stole my hammer. But it's what they did with it on the way out. And it was just absolutely great. It was the best tour ever
Yeah, that was
as far as the leadership tour.
Those ship company tours, although folks dread them because it's not a squadron, but it's a bigger scale, tougher environment, more just different people come
It's a
from
challenge.
all over the communities, all over the world. Certain cases, huge challenge, and that's where you learn. That's where you hone your leadership skills to deal with that in a really tough environment. I mean, it's not like you're
Yeah.
squattering the hangars during non-underway times. You're on a ship every day. That's a hard job, and that's where that leadership that bubbles up. That cream rise to the top. There you go. That's where that ship tour is where you learn to be a leader. That's where I certainly learned how to really hone in what was important for the crew and make us successful, and really learn about empathy and showing the crew I cared about them.
yeah. And,
Well, calm seas never made a skilled sailor, that's for sure.
Yeah, true, very true.
yeah, that is truth. And getting back into the transitioning side,
Hmm.
when
Yeah,
you were
we
going
could tell
through,
sea stories about.
I
We
know,
don't,
I know,
want
we'll
folks to
Yeah,
sit
tell us
here
just
about
all
goes all
deployed
day.
sea
Oh my god.
stories. Remember
we'll
that one time? Yeah.
oh, dude, there's
That
like
one
so many
time when
sea
we
stories that we
transitioned.
want to go over, and that's what's so amazing about this is like I was telling Nooch, I was like, bro, what other awesomeness is there than to just sit down with people that you respected or that you shed blood and tears and sweat with, and you just talk about the old times, man. Like
Nope.
there's no better gig than that, like
Nope.
to do
Totally
that
agree.
exactly.
And just
So
laugh. Tell us some
yeah,
amazing stories and be like, wow, that was ridiculous. And just laugh about it. We
oh
laughed about it
man.
then, but really laugh about it now because we're no longer doing it. Thank goodness.
Oh yeah, yeah, and really look back on it and be like, you know what, that was awesome. Like, yeah, hey, the Russians were in there; they were buzzing us. They wanted to be around
Oh
us
yeah,
the entire time. It got kind
that
of dicey.
Russian destroyer followed us for like 2 weeks. It was pretty funny. Yeah.
Oh, dude, man.
Yeah, yeah, and hey, looking back on it, it's the hard times that we remember. and
Yep.
and we really need to grab onto that while we're going through our transitions because we've done things that is even harder because we had that tribe around us and we just need to build
Yep.
that tribe to get us through our
Yep.
next evolution.
The tribe is still there, and they want to
Yeah,
help you.
Yeah.
but just got to reach out. It's
Yeah.
easier to reach out when you're on a ship because they're there. But when we
Oh
retire, we
yeah.
kind of fan out and we're not able to connect as quickly as we could before in the chief's mess on the ship or a squadron or whatever. But now it's a little more of effort. I don't think texting and email is connecting. That's not how we maintain this relationship and stay mentally healthy. You have to do it in person.
No, not at all,
Phone,
dude.
Yeah.
phone
This
call
is
at the minimum, but or show up. Just show up. That's one of my themes when I talk. Is hey, just show up in person,
people
not via text.
people call it
Yeah.
people call it social networking. It's more like in social networking, man,
Yeah.
because it's just talking through the thumbs and stuff. Ugh.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
not connection. That's just staying. I don't know I would call it, but it's not connecting.
Yeah.
It's just staying informed. I think connecting is seeing you.
If you want to call it.
Look, yeah, yep, yeah, exactly.
I didn't ask you this question, and it's a normal question. What content do you suggest people in their transition to digest while they're going through it?
To prepare, what should they read up about, or should they? Is that
Yeah,
what
read,
your question is?
listen. Like what helps you during your transition that would really.
Yeah, that's um, other people. I would say contacted my friends and hey, give me the gouge. Standard Navy, give me the gouge. What did you learn? What mistakes did you make? Folks sent me a lot of really like 20, 30-page documents that people took the time to kind of categorize their how they're going to retire. I'm sure you saw the gouge there. That's informal, but obviously it's usually pretty super legit. And then just online, of course, and then going to courses like TAP. Certainly, Blue Water Advisors was helpful to get me point in the right direction. And then, of course, there's always books out there that one was like from CO to CEO. I skimmed that and skimmed some other retirement books to kind of see what I was missing. But it matched up with the gouge I had, so I stuck with the gouge. Being a true Navy guy, you just stick with the gouge.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty straightforward. But there's so many
Right.
folks that want to help you, and
Yeah.
mistakes that I made. I'm reaching out now to people per our last discussion and making sure they don't make the mistake that I made. I'm sharing them with them my mistakes that I wish someone had told me when I was going through this. So that's been fun for me to kind of be kind of a mentor for folks who are retiring. I enjoy doing that.
I
What
love
do you
that, man.
tell 19-year-old what do you tell 19-year-old JJ back there in Massachusetts back in the day? What do you tell 19-year-old JJ as you embark on your journey?
I would have told him it's okay. The Red Sox will win the World Series at some point, so hang in there. It's coming. Patriots too. So don't worry about that, and add years to your life and keep the hair on your head. Is first one.
Don't forget about your
I would
Bruins.
tell 19-year-old me, as a college student, I would have been a better student. I was more focused. Well, talk about social. I was focused heavily on socializing at college, maybe not so much at studying aggressively. So I would do a better job of being getting more out of college than I did. Now I made up for it as we all do on active duty when you're more mature and not a 19-year-old knucklehead. And just do it when you really what's important is studying hard and getting the most out of your education while you got on active duty. But I would definitely tell myself that study harder, and also I would tell myself when I did enlist and was playing volleyball on the beach at Great Lakes on the water there, not to wear your dog tags when you're playing volleyball like they did in the movie. That I look back with great
Yeah.
regret that I can't believe I did that. Thank God there's no pictures taken of us corpsmen at A school playing volleyball with our dog tags on.
Just
So
a
bad.
mental picture,
So
and the fact that you had more hair
yes,
at the time.
very true. And at least I was not wearing jeans like in the movie when Goose and Mav were wearing jeans playing beach volleyball. But definitely would lose
Right.
the dog tags when playing volleyball when I was enlisted in the Navy Reserves at the A school there at Great Lakes.
Man, and then fast forward about 30 some years, what do you tell 54, 55-year-old JJ as you're getting ready to transition out?
I'm not sure the Red Sox are going to win a World Series again, so I'm trying to work my way through that the way the things are looking.
Got some serious disturbing here.
I'm telling myself that enjoy this gift the Navy has given me by allowing me to retire. This is a gift. This isn't the end of something. It's the start of something new. And when I said this in my retirement, this is not the last chapter of the book. This is like midway through the book. This is like chapter 10 of a 25 chapter book. So keep writing those chapters and don't look back and fret about not being in, oh, I missed this, I missed that. Like some of my friends are still talking about oh, the thing the Navy didn't do for them. I didn't promote here, didn't get this, whatever. That was like 5 years ago. Move on. So
Maybe more.
keep writing your book and keep thinking about the next chapter and how you can make it a wicked good chapter and don't make it a negative chapter. Make it something that is the next step. So I think about that and what else do I want to do in my life that I can do? I mean, I want to hike the Appalachian Trail. That's
Oh,
my
nice.
dream since I've been 10 years old. And my goal is to, if my body will take it, when the last check goes to the college that our youngest is going to here this fall as a freshman, when that check is cut, I'm taking a leave of absence from my current job. I'm going to just pack up and go and just get her done because it's something I've been thinking about since I've been 10. So, find those things and I want to keep finding things that I can do. And to your point about this podcast, just go freaking do it. Let's go. Who cares? We have the stability of having pensions and VA payments that we can do things that maybe other folks in our position cannot because they don't have that stability, the backdrop that we have. Backdrop's not the right word. The backstop of pensions and VA payments. So just go for it. So my chapters are flowing. And on each chapter I turn the page, I'm trying something new. I'm going to go for it. That's what I'm telling myself every day. And don't settle. Push,
Word
drive,
up.
keep going. Let's go. Let's have fun with this new life that we have that I can now be home every night, go on vacation, be with my family more, and do things that I couldn't do for 32 years. So that's what I'm telling me and myself every day, and loving it.
I want to wrap it up with the purpose question because I
Mhm.
feel, JJ, that you knew your purpose for a while and you've just continued to
Yeah.
build on it over and over again. But a lot of us seem to forget our purpose or lose our purpose or tie our purpose to something that is not really our purpose. We tie it to our uniform, so when we hang it up,
Right.
we go over that gap and we're like, oh, there's nothing there, but it's always been there. What did it take for you to realize that?
You know what? That's a great question. And to build off your comment, those that tie their purpose in lot in life to what they used to be are going to be challenged when they retire because you're no longer a ship captain or a Top Gun instructor or a high charging divisional
Yeah.
LCPO for the A&D department on an aircraft carrier. Those days are gone. So I
Mm-hmm.
look for the purpose of what I can do, and I'm just my previous comment to what can I do in the future that's going to make a difference to people and myself. So don't hinge my purpose in life to what I was. Hinge your purpose in life to what you can be, what you can share with other folks, and make their lives meaningful by just sharing the mistakes you made and lessons you've learned when you were somebody. So that's something that I think about a lot. I know that folks particularly in naval aviation, they attach their purpose in life and who they are because they're fighter pilots, let's say, for example, or they're a Top Gun instructor. You've heard me say that previously. And when they leave the Navy, they think, well, I'm no longer a Top Gun instructor, I'm no longer a fighter pilot, then who am I? Well, you're still just a former fighter pilot and a former Top Gun instructor. You still have a call sign. You're still who you are. Go out there and just be somebody, someone else. That's not. I want to say you can't be a fighter pilot anymore, but you can be who you are and go take those skills that you had and use them in a better form or fashion. So that's what I think about a lot. And I share with friends of mine that think that all they have is this, as in flying
Mm.
fighters. No, I asked this of an '05 recently, as of last Saturday. Like, what do you want to do when you get out? He had no answer. I don't know. I want to fly. I'm like, well, dude, you got to take a step back and find out what that is, because that's your next purpose. Because you can't fly in the Navy forever. At some point, they're gonna boot you and make that booting an opportunity and not make it regretful and angst filled and negative. So that's something I think about a lot. Hopefully that makes sense.
That made a lot of sense. Thank you for sharing
Totally.
that because
Yeah.
we have it from the maintainer side of naval aviation, and that's where we need it. It's a common theme that we're seeing everybody, no matter where they're at. I froze for a second. I know. So no matter
Yep.
where
Yeah.
they're at in their journey, we see a common thread over and over again. And just to hear that from your side, from hey,
Mm-hmm.
top, JJ, you were the top dog. You were the top dog in your field, and to hear that you don't tie your uniform to your purpose from you. Thank you for sharing that. I really do appreciate
No,
that.
dude, could you do me a favor and
Yeah.
tell my wife that I was top dog and maybe let Snow Ann. Just let Sarah know because
No,
sometimes I'm
it has
because
it has none. And my wife Sarah's the same. Hey,
yep.
I am the dishwasher.
Oh,
I take the garbage out. I
Nah,
do
man,
all that
yeah.
stuff. I get it.
I come home like
Sarah's gonna be watching his podcast about way to go, boys. You're gonna inflate this guy's hair. He'll never grow hair again. Yeah, we can't
no,
do this. Nah.
well, all
This
those great jobs I had. I come home like, honey, do you know I'm the commanding officer? She's like, yeah, whatever. Go take the trash out and could you please mow the damn lawn?
yeah, that's right.
But it just don't go. Like, okay, so yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
but
Talk about
the loss of prestige, or they call it prestige shock, where you're no
yeah.
longer the
Hmm.
CNC, the CEO. That prestige shock is something that it's an early like, wow, okay, this is new, and some folks struggle with that, and some folks don't. And I was fortunate to be able to not worry about that and find other ways to fill that loss of prestige with something else. So that's something to think about. Prestige shock is a thing, and we should be careful of it.
Mm.
Well, let's get into the final rounds. Does anybody have any last shots they want to shoot out? Anything you want to throw out there that you feel is important for the listeners, or anything that you've been doing?
Uh, I will tell you that thank you for this opportunity and thinking about stuff that we did shoot 11 years ago, and you're talking about it like it was today. That's pretty cool. So thank you for helping me relive those memories of a really fun deployment. Although it was challenging, we made it a tough situation as enjoyable as possible, and it's leadership that makes that happen. And that same leadership that made in the Red Sea for however long we were there, something that the crew, we kept the morale up. That's the same skills that worked on active duty are the same skills that can be used when you retire to motivate another workforce, be it civilians and wherever folks are working. So I guess although we no longer wear the uniform, but we have skills we acquired over lifetimes of learning experiences that we can share with other people who never served and make I think, their lives better. Because someone who's led by a strong leader and they want to go to work every day because they have good, meaningful leadership that kind of support them, they live a better life. The studies have shown you're healthier, better relationships at home. You get more inspiration at work. So I think we should wrap our arms around what we've learned and use that tool and make people's lives better. So there's stuff to do out there you can do when you're a veteran, and veterans should embrace that and make it happen. That's just a random thought that popped in my skull when you asked for a final comment. And then go Red Sox. Let's get some
Oh,
Patriots.
you got to throw the Red Sox in there again.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
Patriots
There's
and
a
Red
great
Sox.
Bambino.
Oh my
Some
goodness.
down years.
Could you imagine having this guy on
Down
the
years.
1MC all the time, telling you every morning, cleaning stations,
Yeah.
go Red Sox, and you're
But
like,
you
oh, come on.
remember all that trivia we did though? I really enjoyed that trivia. Every day we did the Blue Jacket trivia, and
Oh yeah.
the sailors found me, they get a late sleeper's chit or a head of the line. I really enjoyed doing that.
No, that
And
that
then
was
it was
phenomenal.
and every Saturday. One last funny story, you'll enjoy this one. And every Saturday was the '80s movies quote trivia. Was that? And then one time I did it on a Saturday, and I was doing the Porky scene where they were trying to describe the male genitalia, like a
Oh,
sketch
ball
artist.
breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
with
so
ball breaker. Oh my
the
god.
the chaplain comes to me a couple hours later. Hey, XO, you got a second? I'm like, sure, chaps. Hey, just so you know, you did that movie quote right during the church services, so we had to stop celebrating the Lord to listen to you describe the scene where someone looking for sketch artists for so and so's penis. I'm like, yeah, chaps, I'm gonna own that. That's my fault, and I'm so sorry. So I actually look back. I'm like, oh, so every time from there forward, I'm like, am I speaking during a church service? If so, I'm not going to speak during a church service, and certainly not going to say something like that. So, by the way, it was still PG-13. I kept it professional, but it was just very funny that a chaplain had to type me up on my 1MC call during a
It's
church
like,
service.
dude.
So, tough times.
It's little things like that that just make us so much more human, man. It's just what's piss
Yeah,
on. It's just awesome.
Exactly.
and
Yep.
it's
Totally.
it's definitely a great case of hey, we can get humbled by anybody really quick.
Quickly.
Like,
including the Lord, the man of the
yeah.
cloth came in and tightened me up. I'm like, I just got tightened up by a chaplain. I'm going to hell even quicker than I thought.
You just
That's
stop
lame.
saying go Red Sox every 5 seconds. You'll get that much better, man. No.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Hey, brother. Hey, Nooch. You wanna no? You wanna thank him
You
out
want me to hit
really
that
quick?
first one off?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Well, hell, JJ, man, we'll go ahead and there's a couple of wrap up questions.
Okay.
What books are you reading or podcasts you listening to right now?
The best book I read on leadership, for both active duty and retired, Leadership is Language, Marquette. And it fundamentally changed the way that I addressed watchstanders on the bridge and how I ran meetings with heads of department on Gerald R. Ford. And I'm currently reading The Wager. It's about a British Navy vessel in 1740 that she gets shipwrecked. I think they end up having a mutiny, and there's all kinds of killings and all that. Really fascinating to read about the Navy in 1740 and how brutal that life was with regard to typhus breakouts, scurvy, and the sailors with 17 inches in their hammocks living like that. And and impressing sailors, pulling a port and stealing folks off the beach to go ride a ship. A tough life for sailors back in those days. But that's our history, was that kind of stuff. But and then podcasts, I really like Tim Ferriss and Jocko Willink for a little bit here and there, and then Reveal is something that is a good just investigative reporting. Just try to mix I don't want to do all military stuff. I try to mix and match
Yeah.
with what I'm hearing, so I don't just hear one perspective. I try to hear as many perspectives as I can, and that's one way to do that.
Yeah, you need to. I love it because you need to broaden your
Yeah.
your scope. Because if you're always
Mm-hmm.
focused on one thing, then you're gonna only see those things. So if you don't open your mind to other things, it's gonna be hard for you
Absolutely.
to see
Yep.
the whole picture of things. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, leadership is language is my change of command gift to every squadron CO's and carrier CO's gift from me is to read this book. It's really good for any budding leaders out there.
Good
If there's some
deal.
listening, it's a fantastic book on how to address subordinates and just and be a better leader. I really enjoy the book. I'm a Marquet disciple. Marquet, I think it's Marquet. David Marquet, as he say his last name.
Good deal. Wow, man, Captain, it was absolutely great catching up with you. And
Yeah.
this is just a great wrap up. I'm sorry, not a great wrap up, great podcast. And it's just one of those things. It's like, damn it, man. Sometimes we're doing this, and it's like, man, do we have to wrap up now? But yeah, we got to wrap up now. So
I'm with
it's
you.
great having you on. Thanks for the guidance, some of the stories, and look forward to checking you out. Do you do any like TED Talks or like do you do anything like that with Toasted or anything like that where people can follow you?
Not yet. I want to get there eventually. Just public speaking right now. On my website, I have a couple clips from speaking events I was at, and that's pretty much it. So not there yet. I'm still new at this public speaking thing. Still trying to hone the craft of, getting the message out, and so still getting there. But I think you can Google me. There's some stuff, some really fun stuff. By the way, when I was on Gerald L. Ford, some segments we
Mm-hmm.
did that the public affairs folks put together, interviews with sailors on the ship. Where I'm obviously wicked funny and wicked smart.
Ah,
So
there
there's
we go.
funny interviews, right? Wicked,
Yeah.
but that's when I was in active duty. But nothing yet. But I'm still working towards that, and I am working on a book. I'm gonna, and
Oh, good deal.
it's not a memoir to tell everyone how cool I am because you already know that. But
Well,
some books are. It's actually just hardcore leadership thoughts baked in with stories that, like we just discussed, and how that can be used in civilian life. So I'm just really fun working on that. I'm chipping away, and I don't know when it'll be out, but I'm gonna make this happen. One of those Appalachian Trail or podcast moments. I want to get this done, and I'm gonna get it done. And I'm looking forward to sharing lessons learned with people. And I know this book will help them give them a different perspective on leadership that will change the way they lead. I do believe that because it certainly changed the way I led by using these principles given to me, by the way, from chief petty officers. Chiefs gave me a couple of thoughts through the years that are in there straight up from a chief petty officer. So as always, massive respect for the chief's mess, as always.
Hey, brother, I'm gonna hold you accountable for the book. So I'm gonna be asking you
Yeah,
Oh
in a
yeah.
year's time, hey, where are we at with this book? And I'm
Right.
hoping I hear,
gotta get pushed by the
yeah.
get pushed by the Chiefs. Standard stuff. Gotta get pushed by the cat by the
Hoorah.
goat locker. So I will do that absolutely.
Hey, brother, like Nooch said, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for hanging out with the tribe and sharing some of your wisdom with us, brother. And it's it's not an easy road transitioning, and doing things like this, hanging out with each other, sitting down and having those real conversations about the transition, even after you're still out. Like it's not
Yep.
just about when you're getting out as a service member, but also after you're out as well. You got to keep on it with yourself. You got to sit down and have these conversations with each other. So I appreciate you doing this.
Yep. Thanks for the opportunity, and I think you're leading by example by reaching out. That's what we need to do as veterans: reach out and take care of the people like you did when you're on active duty. Same process, just different. We're in a different uniform.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, to all of our listeners that are out there listening to us right now, I just want to say thank you. Please also go check out JJ. You can see his LinkedIn scrolling down here at the bottom of the screen right here. But take a look at him, follow his content that he's going to be releasing, and hopefully we see his book is going to be published here in the near future. And to everybody that's out there listening, it's your transition. Take charge of it. Build your tribe. MIl2Vet.